present in all three phases are different. It's a team that's, this is an explosive team, starting in the kicking game. I mean, the returner, that they, basically in the top 10, top 5 in every category last year, created turnovers. Kickoff returner is really good, big, strong, fast. Same thing at the punt returner. The kicker's obviously exceptional. They've only team in the league to block 2 field goals this year. So, they present a lot of challenges in that regard. They're very well coached and they're physical, which stands out in every unit. Defensively, lead the league in negative runs. Coach Eberflus has always done a great job of going after the football, trying to create takeaways and turnovers. And when they've done that, obviously that's been a big precursor for victories for them throughout his coaching career. But you can see the effort and the attempts at the ball, the way they play kind of lends itself to creating turnovers if you're not careful with the football or you don't take good care of it if you have it. So defensive front's very disruptive, play a lot of players, some of which we're familiar with that were here before, Andrew, Yannick. I mean, they have some guys that are Jones is, I'd say, one of the best defensive linemen that we're going to see the entire year. Linebackers, rangy, big, good blitzers. Jackson obviously is, he's found the end zone on defense more than any player since he's been in the league. So very opportunistic, create a lot of long yardage situations. I think Matt's as good a defensive coach. He's right up there with all the rest of them that are that good. I mean, he challenges you a number of different ways. And then offensively, led the league in rushing last year. Really picking up where they left off in that regard. Running backs are all big, all hard to tackle, make a ton of yards after contact, so tackling will be important this week. Is top of every category basically in the league, yards per catch, contested catches. He's hard to tackle when he has the ball in his hands. So they get the tight ends involved. They got, other skill players that they throw it to, and obviously Fields, I understand the report, may or may not go, but, obviously a versatile guy, can hurt you with his arm, can hurt you with his legs. And then the young kid, when he came in last week, very much the same thing. Like, he understands the game plan. He can do things with his legs as well, too. So we've seen a lot of film on him. So, explosive team in all three areas, all three phases. We've got to do a good job of understanding who we're playing against and where they're at and, how they win, and how they make big plays, because that's obviously going to be a big factor on Sunday.
Any update on Jimmy and...
Nothing yet. I mean, that'll be a medical thing as we go through the week here and just kind of see how he progresses. But nothing yet.
Will he be able to practice today?
Not today. He won't practice today. No.
And I'm sure you obviously have a game plan for the quarterback, but Brian came in off the bench, did a pretty good job. Aiden's already gotten a start. Is there waited?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna, both of them will get opportunities today. Like I said, it's hard to. We'll kind of see how today goes and then see what the prognosis is and see how practice goes, see how Jimmy's feeling. So I think there's a few balls in the air right now that we're going to have to sort through for sure.
When you talk about the preparation for the Bears, the quarterback, the young kid, there's not much film. I don't mean, a small school guy, obviously hasn't played much. And then Fields, as you said, the reports are not playing. Like, how much do you have to kind of weigh that, prepare for him, and how do you prepare for a quarterback you don't know that much about necessarily?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's film on everybody if you look hard enough to find it, you know what I mean? So he played in the preseason a bunch, played last week, obviously, and so there's college tape as well. So I think most importantly is to understand the skill set of the player you're talking about, and in this case it's multiple players, and just, we have to be able to defend whoever's out there. So, we always talk about the backup quarterback anyway. Last week was no different. You know what I mean? We had some tape on Cunningham and knew that there might be something where he could potentially be a factor. And so, you have to prepare and do your due diligence. So, like I said, we've got all the tape on him. We'll watch it all. He's played in their system and their offense. He did some good things in the preseason, certainly. He can do some things with his legs. He finds the right people in the passing game. He's accurate. He's got a good arm. So, I mean, there's enough to go off of for sure.
Is he on your radar at all in the pre-draft process or the undrafted process?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them that are. I think once we ended up going with Aiden, when we picked Aiden, I think it kind of changed, just the entire mindset of that whole thing.
It seems like Tre'von Moehrig this season has taken a step forward. What have you seen from him in terms of his growth, just over his personal life?
Yeah, I think, this is, Trey's third year. He's played a ton of football, obviously, and he's had an opportunity to be, to really try to take the best of the guys that he's been around, He was around John Abrams, physical type of style player. He got to, be around De'Ron last year a little bit, who'd been in the league for a long time. I think Trey tried to, gain and take as much from him as he could. And now, Marcus comes in this year, a different player, different experiences. Marcus has had a lot of success in his career on some really good teams, and I think Trey's just done a good job of trying to learn from all those players that he's playing with or beside. He works hard at it. I know he studies hard at his position, the opponent. I think he really, he's trying to be good in every area of that position, and we ask a lot of that position, sometimes they're down the box, sometimes they're in the deep part of the field, sometimes they're covering, sometimes they're blitzing. I think Trey's improved as a tackler, and he certainly had to deal with his fair share of adversities too. He's got the cast on, the thumb. So I just think he's a tough-minded kid who's really focused on trying to be the best version of himself. And I think he's really taken something from all of the guys that he's had an opportunity to play with, which I think is great for every young player to do, because obviously you don't know everything, when you're young. So just feel like he's continuing to get better and better. I really like Trey's, path here.
Josh, organizational question. As a trade deadline comes, is that something you and Dave discuss? Is it something Dave will say, hey, I think we can fill a need here, or you say, not looking for names, just organizationally, how do you and Dave handle that? That's really,
for Dave, and then Dave and Champ and those guys upstairs to really monitor that stuff. I mean, I don't have enough, I wish there was 2 more hours in every day as it is to do other things. So, it's an important part of the process. It doesn't mean that anything will or won't happen, but I have total trust and faith in those guys to basically, they're monitoring all that stuff. If there's something that eventually we need to have a discussion about or what have you, then you try to do the best thing for the team. But I'm going to be in my lane here, and if he needs to honk the horn and we need to pull over to the side of the road and have a conversation, then we will. But those guys are going to do a great job of that. They did a great job last year of monitoring that whole thing. There's a lot of conversations. Sometimes there's things that happen. A lot of times there's not.
Nate Hobbs.
Say it again.
Nate Hobbs.
He won't be out there either today. He's, continuing to try to progress and work hard at it. And I think he'll be out there as soon as he can. He's just not quite ready.
Talked about your interior defensive line kind of as a whole the other day, but the guy who's getting the most snaps and seems to be in a really good stretch is Bilal Nichols. How important has it been for him?
Yeah, Bilal's, he's been a steady guy since we got him last year. Just works really hard at all the areas that, that are required at that position. He's got to be able to play the run and be physical inside. He works at pass rush, diligently every single week that we're out there. I think he's improved in both areas. I think he understands the scheme that we're playing now, the best since I've been here. I think all our guys are really getting acclimated to it. But true pro, really a good influence on everybody else, comes in prepared every day, puts in a great deal of work at practice, technique-wise, fundamentally. Then he gives great effort. He's in good condition. He can play a lot of snaps, as you mentioned. And he impacts the game in multiple ways, which obviously, if you play that position, that's what you want to do. So really, again, happy with the progress that we've seen from Bilal.
John Jenkins is somebody else that probably doesn't get the notoriety that he deserves. It feels like he's been kind of an anchor for you guys down there.
Yeah, he has. There's another guy that's nothing but a pro, ready every day, knows the opponent, understands what his job is, doesn't get tired of doing it right with the technique, very consistent in his approach. practices his butt off. For a guy who's been in the league as many times, as many practices and games as this guy's played in his career, you see him practice and you're impressed, and he's always trying to either himself improve or help somebody else get better, which, man, if you could put a roster full of 70 guys together that are like that. So just love having him here. He's played very well so far this season, and we're going to need him to continue to do that.
Josh, Maxx has seemingly always kind of been a team leader anyway, but it seems like he's taken even more of a leap this year. How has he been able to do that?
Yeah, he searches, honestly, daily for ways to improve himself in all the areas that he's working on, and everybody sees the player part of it, it's probably, I'm just as impressed with the other stuff, in the meeting room, how he leads his teammates on the practice field, his preparation every day, his treatment, his recovery process is never ending. And he wants to, I think young players sometimes, they know how to get themselves in a routine. And I think one of the biggest challenges that young players see, and I think Maxx is he's really getting over the hump on this, is how do I improve other guys? How do I help them improve and motivate them to do more and try to improve themselves? So he just has such an effect on everybody every day, and along with that, there's a lot of pressure. Because you have to be on every day. You can't come in and have a day where you're just, let me just go through the motions, and he never does, So he's learning to deal with all those stresses of being a great leader, a great teammate, along with being a dynamic elite player. So he's obsessed with being the best version of himself every day, and you see it, and that's why you see him improve at it.
I'm sure you knew a lot about him already coming in, but was there a moment like last year when you were like, oh, this guy's different? Like there's something different about
Crosby?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first few times I saw him in the weight room, of course my office is right over there by the parking lot, so I always, when you look down there, his car's here most of the time, so, you'd think he was coaching, because he's here early, he's here late, and all the rest of it, so, he just, ever since I've had an opportunity and the good fortune to be here, he's been an incredible influence on me, on the people in the building, on the players. It's just, we're blessed to have him. We really are.
Have you watched him spar, and how much does it panic you that he's in there?
Yeah, I have. It's not, we try to keep some of the shots to a minimum, as we go into the season part of it. So, but, guys have different ways that they prepare, and, he's a violent guy, he plays that way too, so.
Josh, when you have a player like Davante Adams, who's such a focal point, and cameras catch him, and where he's sitting, who he's talking to during the game, is he frustrated? On Sunday, he left without talking to us after the game. No big deal. That's his prerogative. But people read into things. And as the head coach dealing with somebody like that, are there times where you feel like you have to sit him down, or the office is open for him to come to talk to you to express any frustrations at all?
I always have open communication with all those guys. And honestly, great players wouldn't be great if they didn't want to try to help the team win in every way that they can, and we have a handful of guys that have earned that, that opportunity, and we're just talking about Maxx and talk about, Davante, and I've been around a handful of other ones, where, look, the game is different for them, because they've, achieved a certain, status, and they want to contribute every single time that they're out there as much as they can. So that's part of them being them. I would never tell them to squash that. He's been a great leader, a great influence. We know how this goes. There's stretches, and we've seen this already in the league, I don't know, a half a dozen or more times this year where, a certain player doesn't necessarily get a certain number of targets one week or the other for a number of reasons. There's the other team gets a little bit of a vote or something else happens that affects that. But To me, that approach, I wouldn't want him to change or any other player like that. I wouldn't want Maxx to change. He's getting double teamed on every pass rush. We try to move him to help him, be more impactful, So I've said that before. Like, our job is to make sure our best players have an opportunity to impact the game. And they can only do what they can do, So he's going to do everything he can to help us win. I know that for sure. He's got a great attitude and mindset. He's as competitive as a guy as I've ever been around. And he should want the ball and he should want to contribute. So no, I don't try to tell them to not feel a certain way. And they should be, they should want the ball. That's why they are who they are. So no, he's great, in every way, and this is no different.
I know that he knows that, or thinks when he's double teamed, he's still open. Where's the fine line with that?
Yeah.
Especially when you have to sit down and talk to him about it.
There's a fine. I don't have to sit down and talk to him about anything. There's a fine line, for every player like that. We got to be smart with the ball, but we also got to make sure we keep our best options available to us, And so, look, my job is to try to find a way where they can't double them, So, we'll keep working at that part too. And again, there's always stretches like that seem a little bit, slower than others, but that can change in a hurry.
Your offenses have always been known for tight end. So as Michael continues to mature, how much does it allow you to do more of what your scheme is?
Yeah, I think the more guys that contribute, the harder it is to defend. And obviously the tight end position, I think Hoop and Mike both contributed the last few weeks significantly. And they're right in the middle of the defense. So, when there's somebody, whether it's a back, a receiver, or a tight end that's contributing right in the middle of the field, that creates, you have to pay some attention to that, So I just, the more plays we can involve them in, as you can see, they're hard to tackle. There's two big guys running with the ball. Get the ball in their hands. You have an opportunity to make some yards. So I love the position. I think the versatility of that position going back a number of years now has continued to evolve and change. And there's so many really good tight ends in the league now. And I'm really excited that we're starting to see some of that growth from our guys.
When you guys drafted Tyree Wilson, you had a plan, kind of a ramp-up period for him. Has he progressed how you guys expected to this point so far?
Yeah, I think, Tyree's playing more and more in terms of doing the things we thought he could do. I know there's one number everybody, is waiting for, so I understand that part of it. But I thought he was very impactful in the running game the other day. Again, some of the things in the pass rush, there's opportunities, and we're getting closer on some of those things too. So he's doing is he's been out there every day. He's stringing weeks together. He's getting, better in terms of understanding his role, the defense, what he's doing on every call, the technique we're using, getting off on the football, how to play different blockers. That's a big thing for him too, because, the left tackle this week's not the same as the left tackle last week. And, that'll continue through his entire career. So these guys, there's a different level of preparation that goes into winning. Rushes, winning run blocks, et cetera, against different people. So he's learning how to do all that, and I love the fact that he's been durable and been able to stay out there on the practice field, which I think is where you're going to see the most improvement from him.
Maxx pushes him in a good way. I don't mean that disrespectfully. Yeah. So how much does it help you to look over and say, okay, he's going to learn from anybody. That's the guy I want.
Yeah, I think all your leaders like that, certainly that the young players respect those players. One, because of the way they work, but two, because they've earned it based on their production. So to have guys like that in your organization, and we have a number of them, Maxx, JJ, Devontae, Jimmy, there's a lot of Epps, but there's a lot of guys, Marcus Peters, there's a lot of guys that people can listen to, and they have a lot of experiences, a lot of successful experiences to rely on and help, teach some of these young guys, through their exposure. So I really, when you see that, it's a good conversation. And the most important thing is how it's received. And so you see a lot of our young players, whether it's Trey listening to Devontae or, Tre'von listening to Epps or, Tyree listening to Mac. Those are all really productive conversations for an organization and a team to have.
Devontae, he's taking some big hits and there's some physical stuff. I know he wants to practice all the time. is he going to be out there today, and B, is that something that you kind of have to help him refrain from himself?
Yeah, I think we're trying to do that with all of our guys. I mean, Maxx is, you guys have seen on the injury report, limited, and just trying to be smart with all those guys. I mean, there's a toll that it takes, especially this year with our bye week where it is. You got to try to manage that the best you can. We have a late bye week, so we just last year we had an earlier one, so we'll do the best we can to try to manage those guys. I understand if they don't have a certain practice rep, like that's part of doing business. I count on those guys to be ready to go on Sunday.
You guys all good?
Good to go. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Josh.